I'm Michael Reese.
And I'm Woods Davis.
And this is the Digital President Podcast.
We've cracked the code for generating customers online for every business model.
In fact, we wrote the book on it.
We've built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses in as little as 90 days. And the one truth that we discovered is
the best business model is doing what you love and living your life by strategy.
You truly can follow your passion and create the life of your dreams,
as long as you have the right strategy.
If you're a real estate agent and you'd like to learn how you can partner with us to help you implement our strategies and systems in your business so you can make a lot more money and have a lot more time freedom, all without ever paying us a penny or giving up a percentage of your commission, go to partnershipdetails.com and schedule a call with us today. While it's fresh in your mind, go to partnershipdetails.com. Now on to the podcast.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Digital President Podcast. Woods, you ready to jump in? This is probably one of the most important topics for anybody because it's about the sales process, and nothing happens in the world until you make a sale. So I'm really excited to jump in this one. I think we're going to add a lot of value. We can go high level, but I want everybody to know we could take little pieces of this and do podcasts literally on their own, just about certain parts of this. So we're going to stay high level, but we're going to give you the framework. You there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Probably one of the most overlooked, underdeveloped processes in in most real estate businesses for sure. But a lot of businesses don't nail this down, but this is the secret sauce right here. So I'm excited to run through it, brother.
Well, and I think it's actually it's the secret to the successful teams because they've actually done this. And a lot of the times, you know, when you're getting into real estate, again, you gotta do lead generation. So you're working on marketing, then you're trying to find marketing qualified opportunities, and then but marketing's job is to put somebody into a sales process, right? And so you have to understand where you're going to begin here is really at the segmentation of roles in sales and marketing, right? So you have like what you call as a marketing qualified lead, and then you have a sales qualified lead. And what we're talking about today is going to be really the sales development process and the steps that you have to go through. For me, early on in my business, because I came from a sales background, I got taught this. I got taught this early on. I got sales leads. They weren't qualified, in my opinion. When I started in the gym business. So I used to get these, a sales qualified lead was anybody that was interested in working out. And so they would give us these little pieces of paper for people who signed up for a 2-week pass to the gym, maybe at their dry cleaners or at a Chinese restaurant or something like that. And for us, we had to turn those leads into closed deals. And the only thing that marketing was saying was like, here's somebody who has demonstrated that they're interested in working out and specifically interested in working out at a gym. And so that was marketing's job. And there was a person who worked in our company. All that they would do is go around to different businesses and they would basically joint venture. They would give them free memberships as long as that they would put these boxes in their store. And then those actual we literally called them lead boxes. Lead box leads would be given to the agents. And here's the thing I want to tell you, Woods. Most agents, let me take that back. Most people who worked in the gym business never called them. And when you first get started, because they got TIs, they got what we would call what real estate agents would call as referrals, right?
Yeah, referrals.
And so they would get these easy ones, right? So they would get the easy ones. But people like me got the phone book. Nothing changed, guys. Nothing changed. When you're in real estate, I've called the phone book. You call expired.
I called the phone book.
You call FSBOs. You're doing all of that stuff. But what you're really doing is you're developing your chops, right, on how to talk to somebody, what to say, how to say it. And to be truthful, they didn't give me a really good pitch. So they gave me the leads, but they didn't give me really they would run television commercials that would say, try the gym, start for $1 or something like that, right? And that was, I would have to use that over the phone in order to get these people. First of all, they would come in for their free 2-week pass, and then I would have to use that to convert those individuals. And so because I cut my teeth there, getting someone on the internet that was looking for a home, I mean, that seemed great. So first of all, the sales process, at a very high level, comes with, the real first stage, which is that prospecting or that prospect stage where, you have the list of these people and you have to have a conversation with them. And that's what people don't, that's where I think most people who develop a sales process, first of all, when you scale a sales process, you don't have to do that anymore. So when you have an ISA, when you have someone qualifying your leads, but when you start, how are you going to hire an ISA if you don't know what to tell them to say because you've never developed the marketing chops in order to create an opportunity, in order to have a sales conversation with somebody that's asking a question that you can get engagement with, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of agents out there, that prospect stage is the same as prospecting. It's where you're talking to someone that doesn't know who you are for the first time. They might know about your business, they might know about your offer, but you're trying to have this conversation. And so the first stage of a sales process is going to be that first conversation with a prospect. And guys, listen, I'm going to tell you right now that if you don't get over this one thing, and there's a book out there, Go for No, most prospects are not looking to take action. They're just simply for several different reasons, they're not ready. But there is a sub-market of that. Let's say you have 100 leads. For us, what we talk about is 3% are ready to do something now, 20% want to do something in the next 12 months. When you're doing that actually prospecting, or you're talking to the prospects that have been given to you, regardless of if they come online or you've defined a qualified lead of someone interested in selling their home, whatever it is, someone interested in selling their home. Is that a FSBO? Yes. Is that an expired? Yes. Regardless of who they are, you have to be able to convert that person. And the way that you do it is you have to be able to really over the phone, be able to have an offer, but at the same time, you have to be able to have a conversation around what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And that's really that timing and motivation conversation. So the first stage, which there's several stages, right? But each stage has a clear goal.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to point out is that first stage is most people, they get discouraged.
Well, they get discouraged too, because I think that they only have one singular outcome in mind, which is an appointment. And so they, that's the classic conversation. Well, this is a bad lead, or they're not qualified because they're not ready to, sell their house, or they're not ready to buy a house. I always have to use, it used to drive me crazy telling when I would train my agents, like, guys, you're never going to sell a listing over the phone. Your job is to, number one, get an appointment. If they're not ready for an appointment, then we're trying to identify if they're going to be a nurture, meaning if they're going to be selling within the next 12 months. So we're going to, have a next step for that person. If they're not thinking that they're going to be selling in the next 12 months, then they're going into the database, and we're going to send them market updates. So like, having those call to action and just defining the process for each person and the different outcomes that are going to come at each stage of the process. I mean, that's half the battle. And really, it doesn't have to be complex, man. It's just sitting down with a piece of paper, writing out the different outcomes and working towards that goal. The cool thing is once you've done enough of it, this is when your sales process becomes predictable. Just like you said, until you have an ISA, you are the ISA. How can you bring on an ISA and have somebody else set appointments for you if you don't know out of 100 people, out of 100 conversations, how many are going to be appointments, how many are going to be nurtures, how many people are just going to go into the database? How can you even hold them accountable? So, this little development process, this is where you develop the sales. This is like the handoff between marketing and sales. And this is like where the rubber hits the road. Probably one of the most important stages in the process.
Yeah, well, in most big companies, this role is segmented, right? You have somebody who's dedicated to sales and someone who's dedicated into creating those opportunities. And the truth is, in real estate, you're that's the complication in being a solo practitioner, is that you're wearing all the hats. You're the copywriter, you're the courier, you're the contract to close, you're everything. And so what gets commingled is you get on the phone with a lead. First of all, most people, let's just they're not even doing marketing right, so they're stuck, right? But once they start to develop marketing, they get discouraged because they've never done it before, and they don't really understand the mathematics. And every stage has a percentage of people that move from one stage to the other. So we look at it as in this, we have what we call as a pipeline, and each stage has a certain outcome that needs to be achieved, but we know that there's a certain percentage of people that won't move to the next stage. And so at a high level, you're going to bring in those prospects. The goal is going to be to have conversations with them. But once you have a conversation, the ideal outcome, that perfect customer journey, is that you're going to set an appointment. If you don't set an appointment, you have to be able to move that person to somewhere. Most people don't have an actual pipeline. So they don't have something visually where they can see people advancing and know, okay, when I talk to a prospect, like you said, that needs to be nurtured, I'm going to move them into my nurture bucket. For us, 1 in 34 nurtures turned into a closed transaction. So if we spoke to 5 people and set one appointment, in our minds, those 5 people, that was a good thing. That was our goal, because that nurture pipeline would develop, and there would be months at some point in the future for an ISA or for a salesperson that was performing the inside sales function, which was the function of talking to prospects and having a conversation to determine their timing or motivation. Those individuals, when they were trained right, they would learn over time that, hey, listen, this is just like go for no. This guy's not ready to go. This lady's not ready to go. This family's not ready to go. We're going to put them into nurture. But guess what? On July 1st, I'm going to have 67 people to call back that told me back in February that they weren't ready, that I needed to wait till then. And so it's not only defining the stages, it's making sure, like, for example, when someone goes to the appointment stage, it's making sure that you have systems in place. So like an example would be, let's say that I have an appointment, I set it. Do I send out a pre-listing package? There's little things that you can do. Maybe it's a video about you that's validating your value proposition, and layered in there, there's testimonials, right? But at that stage of setting that appointment, there's things that you can do to help increase the conversion.
At every stage.
If you're not currently, for instance, let's say you're going on appointments and you don't know your conversion rate of appointments, or specifically, you don't know your conversion rate by lead source. Here's what we learned. We learned that stage moves could be elastic to the way the lead was generating. So what I mean by that is, we'd have conversations with people that came from Facebook. On average, it took 161 days to move them to the next stage of appointment set for the people that moved. Not everybody moved from prospect to appointment set, but for the ones that did, it took on average 161 days. With the Facebook lead, with the Google lead, it took 4.5 days. Why do you think that is, Woods?
Well, it's because of the way that the people were coming into the funnel. The people that came in through Google were searching. They had what we call commercial intent. They were looking for a solution to their problem, versus people that we interrupted with marketing through Facebook. And so the process is different. That's the cash conversion cycle. And this is why this is important, because when you know that, and when you know these numbers, and you know how people advance through the pipeline, through the stages, you can make better decisions at the top of the funnel. The reality is the Facebook.
The reality is you'll never know that, because you're responsible for all that, and you can barely put 2 hours in your calendar to make the calls, much less take the time to go on the internet, find the lead source, set up the tracking for the pixel on the landing page to know what the conversion rate was from the Google to the Facebook. You have no data. You think online marketing might not work. You're wrong. You don't have the information. Online marketing is actually easy when you have access to the information. When someone can walk up to me and say, hey, Mike, we listed 12 homes last month. 6 of them were leads that were generated this month. The other 6 were actually generated 6 months ago. What lead source am I going to invest in if my goal is to hit the goal next month? I sure ain't going to invest in the lead source that takes 6 months to curate into an appointment. Right. And that's the thing, is marketing and sales in most big companies, they have an organizational structure where you have a head of marketing and a head of sales. They go into the conference room, they go over information, they feedback. All of that stuff is on you as the realtor. It's not your fault. It's not your fault if you haven't gotten something going, but that does not mean that it doesn't work. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means that you haven't learned something yet, or you don't have the capacity, the resources. But if you did have them, just like people who go work on, they're failing by themselves. They go on a team and work, and next thing you know, they're selling, 10 times the homes they were selling when they were an individual. It's because that team provided them with sales, with marketing, with qualified opportunities. There was an agreement. Maybe they brought them on and they had an ISA, and they agreed to give them the leads at an appointment stage. Maybe they're on another team and they said, you are the ISA. We're going to give you the leads, and that's your function. That's your job. That's your responsibility to make contact with these leads. But because all of those rules to the game are not even defined and then set upon you on your own when you start, I just want to whisper some words of encouragement. There's never been a time, first of all, there's never been a time where a funnel that has produced an opportunity that you should keep running. And what I mean by keep running, meaning it's profitable, right? There's never a time that it would make sense on a profitable marketing campaign to stop the sales function. Now, you might get tired of doing the sales role, but let's just face it. You don't like it. You don't like calling the leads back. Well, that's fine. Well, you can build a campaign for that like we did.
Yeah.
Right. And that campaign can get you on the phone with 61% of those people by leveraging, when they opt in, permission to be able to text, email, or voice blast. Now you can use campaigns and automation. Guys, if you see people out there selling homes, I'm telling you, they're using strategies that you may not be even using or even understand how they work.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they don't work.
Right. You can leverage automation, video. We only get on the phone with people when we have appointments in our funnel, in our freedom funnel. What do they have to do before they get on the appointment? They have to watch a video. They have to consume a secondary piece of content to prepare them for what's going to happen on the call. I'll never forget when I first started marketing online, and I started my business online, and I was generating all these sales calls, and the sales calls, they were such a heavy lift. And this was before anything. It was before video or anything. We put a dang audio on the website and made people sit there and listen to a 20-minute audio before they would get on a call. And our sales guys had a problem with it. At first, they were nervous that they were going to miss out on opportunities. But the reality is that once we forced that sales process to happen, we said, this is our process. Anybody calls in, it doesn't matter.
It wasn't even your process. It was your definition of a qualified lead.
Exactly. Right. It was actually setting a standard and saying, this is a sales qualified lead. This is a marketing qualified lead, and this is a sales qualified lead. This is what's required in order for us to talk to them and set an appointment.
Because all of the information that lead would have to consume would now have to be done on the phone call, making the salesperson actually doing the role of marketing, which is telling them all the reasons why they need to be on the phone versus answering questions based upon the consumption of the information that they needed to know to be able to be on the phone with the person.
Right. 100%. Because the real role, like when you're at the appointment phase and you're in doing the actual sales, presentation, the way that we generally, do things is more of a collaborative close where we're asking questions. We're taking more of a consultative approach, and it's a real easy transition into asking for the sale. When we've identified their problems, they believe that we understand their problems better than they do, and that we actually have solutions and systems to solve their problems. And then asking if they'd like us to help them with it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but again, all of the pre-appointment indoctrination, everything that's happened along the way is what makes that selling superfluous.
Yeah. And here's the main thing is that, listen, just because somebody's not ready to do business today, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching it on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing. First of all, if you like it, make sure you hit that like button and turn on notifications and hit that subscribe button, because we put out new content just like this every single week. And if you like this, you're going to like some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about in the future as we take a deeper dive. But I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a nurture system and a follow-up system, listen, fortunes are made in the follow-up. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to grow your business, add one script, add one line to your script. Okay, well, do you plan on moving in the next 12 months? Because there's so many people that you talk to that are going to be looking to do something in the next 12 months, but they're not looking to do business now. And we define that on the buy side. Oh, you want to look at houses, but then they don't buy for 8 months. We call that a pain in our rear, because we have to show them around, right? And they're like, well, if I find the perfect house, if that, whatever. But on a seller side, there could be a seller that's waiting on information and they don't want to list their house today, but something can change. For me, there's been 2 times that I've listed a house where one time, the last time, happened quick, really fast. Something happened in a conversation, And I did not know I was going to be selling my house. And, the next thing you know, I didn't know I was going to be moving. And the next thing you know, I was moving within 90 days. Actually, that happened the last 2 times. The third time, I did have a little bit more preparation because I was moving back from Lake Texoma to Frisco. And so I started in the home buying process. I started looking for homes. If I could find something, I would sell. Everybody's different, but you need to be able to follow up with them. The number one thing I like in any sales process is the next action date. You never get off the phone with they're being nurtured and there's an agreement, permission-based marketing. First of all, you have a contact, you don't know who they are. You get on the phone with them, you determine timing and motivation. Once you've done that, you either set the appointment or you determine the next action date. If you determine the next action date, you're following up with them. And at this point, you should have permission to hand that lead back over to marketing so that they can stay in front of them, right? So like, for instance, for you've worked with a lot of agents. You've helped me personally, with my real estate business, right? What are some of the best things you've seen work, or what advice would you give to somebody if they were wanting to nurture a lead?
The number one thing to nurture a lead is understand, what are we doing? We're nurturing a relationship. And so the best way to build relationships is face-to-face. We're building a relationship right now. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching this video, and I would say that right now, what we're seeing probably work better than anything is using video and nurturing your database with video. So emailing your database at minimum, emailing your database weekly, and with simple value videos, adding value to them and giving them the opportunity to spend time with you. Trust is built over time, and it's built as consumption is increased. So like, they have to consume more of your content, and that's the way to do it with marketing. Right now, on the other side of that is getting a system in place for the actual manual touch points, the manual follow-ups. The easiest system that I've ever seen put in place is just simply a quarterly call, the database quarterly call. And that's something that you can just implement immediately, that you can always have a next action date for leads that you speak with in your system. And if you're generating tons of leads, if you have a giant database with thousands of people, you can start to implement segmentation in your database, like identifying a top 100, starting there. And those would be the people that you would do the more manual follow-up with. But the easiest thing that you could do is be emailing your database consistently. And what are you going to email them? Email them video, and don't overcomplicate it. Send them a link to your YouTube video. Post your video on YouTube. Let them watch your YouTube video. And guess what can happen when they watch your YouTube video? They're going to start seeing more of your YouTube videos because the algorithm is automatically going to start showing them more of your content if they consume some of your content. We used to build all this stuff out in Facebook, and we still do some of this stuff in Facebook. Most important thing is, get your face on a video, get it in front of your people, and spend time with them in a leveraged way. Absolutely.
And you can, like you said, we started out with just the Monday morning coffee. It was just an email, but it was informative. It's better to have something. And I agree, weekly is important. So remember, guys, listen, this is just a sales process. We're not going to overcomplicate this. Remember, there's stages, right? Every stage has a clear goal. You have your prospect. You got to have a conversation with them. If you're only conversating with 20%, get it to 40%, get it to 50%. You have to have appointments. If you're not converting on your appointments like you should, implement a pre-listing package, some type of indoctrination video, and make sure you know how to handle objections, and know you always have to ASK to GET. And like Wood said with nurturing, everything he just said, video's the best. If you're not ready for video, or if you're intimidated by video, implement that Monday morning mojo. But most importantly, every contact you spend time on the phone with should have a next action date. Every single one of them. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Short, straight to the point. Get a sales process. You got to put one in place. When you do, you'll be able to live your life by strategy. I promise you, it's one of the best things you can do for your business. The best life to live is going to be a
life by strategy.